Roads are 100% covered here in Dubuque right now. It has been flattened. You might be able to tell over here, this looks like what was once a kitchen. And zoom in, a tractor was also destroyed in this fire. They ran this way towards the main area of the store. They were here for just a minute and it was all caught on camera. Church of Christ on West 4th Street, and we actually have a few people here right now here to vote, changing some of these time limits. Now I want to walk and move over a little bit here. I'm near State Street, right by Viking Pump. Put my hands on the main and then just stand up.
Stand straight
like
up.
this. You do need to be careful driving through this. One more thing I want to point out, you can see the cars behind me. For example, last summer, some kids actually drove through and walked through this area. And 1st Congressional District Representative Abby Finkenauer each had a different perspective, a different guess. Parents, I'm sure this behind me here, this is what's on your mind right now. Well, this and coffee probably. We've collected around 60 bales of hay. That's around 2 semi-trucks worth. So now that you have won this special election, what are your first priorities? This means that Chris Soules pleaded guilty to aggravated misdemeanor, not to the felony charges he was facing. The sound, as an important part of Applington, burned to the ground. Smoke could be seen for miles after a fire started at Central Iowa Exchange sale barn around 1 this morning. The sale barn going from this overnight to this by day.
Built in 1920, so there's history that we'll never get back again.
Verlin Shepard says he has family that owns this barn.
Trish, she ended up putting a lot of work and effort into this building to get it all fixed up, and now it's gone.
Walking this way, you can see just how big this sale barn was. The owner actually tells me they were supposed to have a household auction here tomorrow, but a lot of the items for that auction burned in this fire. Antiques,
Sad.
furniture, tools.
Yeah, sad day.
Supposed to be sold, but now this.
Don't like to see anybody go through this.
Firefighters worked throughout the early morning in thick smoke and fog, tearing down walls, moving debris. They and the owner trying to wrap their head around how this happened. Arlington, Iowa. Rural, quiet, a few hundred people. You could say it's un poco, or a little taste of Iowa. Poco, also the name of this horse in town.
Good boy.
Poco lives in Kimberly Bright's backyard.
Got plenty of room to run.
The two met about a year ago.
He had a half an ear, and I thought, oh, he's not whole neither. That's his kisses. And together we're full. Together we're whole. But
what's he doing?
I don't know. He just does that. If I stood closer, he'd have my hair.
For Kimberly, Poco's not just a pet.
Come on, baby.
He's Kimberly's therapy horse.
I don't have suicidal thoughts.
Helping her battle PTSD.
Because I think, who's going to take care of Poco?
A doctor's note from Regional Family Health reads, Ms. Bright has significant mental health problems for which animal therapy has been beneficial.
Having her horse to tend to on her property is part of her therapeutic regimen.
But Kimberly and Poco live here on Liberty Street, and the Arlington City Council says this is within city limits. It's not the place to keep Poco. The city did not want to comment on air about this, but I do have multiple warning letters from them saying that families and a daycare with young children nearby are in this area. The warning letters also say neighbors filed complaints about Poco getting loose several times and complaints about the smell of manure coming from Kimberly's yard.
Kind of feel for the horse in a little corner lot like that. He's on bare dirt. It's not the place. It just isn't the place.
Other neighbors, like the Petersons here, say Poco doesn't bother them.
I think it's fun to have the horse across the street.
Hi. For Kimberly,
good boy.
She says she's looking after her horse. And she says she built this.
We got this chain link fence
to keep Poco from escaping again.
Behind there, yeah, it is a cornfield.
She also says she's near the edge of town.
It looks like I see corn stalks. You know, if I lived in the middle of town, of course I would have never bought a horse. I don't think I've fought for anything in a long time.
That is until Poco stepped in.
But then he came along and He gave me a voice.
Now it's up to the court to decide
I don't know what's going to happen.
if Poco should go. Amanda Gilbert, News 7 KWWL. A peaceful Wednesday night with lights floating in the sky, music filling the air. The next day, an action-packed 7th grade football team. No matter the moment, the day, the event, you can't miss Carson McGrain's presence in the Wapsie Valley community.
As long as I know that we're playing for Carson, feels good.
The young wrestler and football player was killed in a lawnmower accident more than 10 days ago. But this week, hundreds came out to his celebration of life, singing his favorite song, laughing at old videos, and sharing memories.
He was good to his friends.
Even well-known athlete and wrestling coach Dan Gable honored Carson.
Live like Carson, but you gotta think and live like him too.
But even after the celebration of life ended and lanterns lit disappeared into the night sky, honoring Carson didn't stop. Competing football teams showed their support for the 7th grader.
Sumner and Wapsie is a big rivalry, but when things come, something like that happens, it feels like the whole area and the whole state comes together, just wants to show their support.
And Carson's teammates now play with a CM on their helmets, Carson McGrain. You also hear them chant this.
We want to do everything just how Carson did. No one's perfect, but he's as close as you can get to perfect.
A 7th grader who has forever changed his community.